obvious ways to draw characters in Photoshop. We'll just get right into it then. So these two figures here, they were both drawn in Photoshop, but using different techniques. So this one here on the left is fully pixels, just painted, and the one on the right, which I just turned off, is vector. I've applied various effects to make it look like it's a bit more pixely, but let's just start from the beginning. Just going to go 1920 by 1080, and just going to create some ground to give us something to plop these guys on. It's always nice to have a bit of a gradient. To give you a bit of differentiation between the foreground and the background. And turn the stroke off that. In a similar way, I'm just going to make a sky. And that'll do for now. So the most obvious way to draw in Photoshop is with the brush tool. So B selected. I've just got a white selected there, and I'll just start drawing, right? I've got a Wacom, so that makes drawing easier. And you could say that's fine, that's all you need to know, right? Okay, I could make a new layer for the stalk. And that's great. I could add shadow to the original layer. And all those things. I'm going to delete those. So first of all, before I start drawing with my brush, I'm going to find an actual brush that makes sense for me, that makes it look a bit more brushy. So this is a crayon brush, I think, charcoal, and it has a nice effect. So let's pick my color. It's quite nice to actually have a color wheel here. You can change the settings here. I'm used to the hue cube, but the color wheel's handy for when you're doing painting. It's right there. Make our little mushroom guy. I'm just going to block fill it for now. You could go over to the paint bucket and just fill it in. And on a new layer, I'm going to do the stem. Put that behind the other one. Now double clicking on the cap of the mushroom, I'm going to get an inner shadow up. Now you can see with the inner shadow I've got it set to white. I can set a little bit of an angle on that. Now you can see it's picked out an imperfection. We've probably got a tiny pixel dot. There it is. I'm just going to paint over that. So get rid of those funny little marks. Now with a black, so you can press just D. It just takes you back to the default colors. New layer. I'm just going to draw the little happy chappy. Using the square brackets, you can make the brush bigger. Just hold it down, it's huge. Hold it down, shrinks back. There he is. X to swap the colors. to zoom in slightly. Spacebar for the hand tool. Back to the brush, make it a little bit smaller. Draw his teeth. Cool. Now we're kind of done. Do some details in black on a new layer. So this is trying to be like a little shaggy ink cap. They're really delicious sort of mushrooms, but you have to eat them. Obviously don't eat any mushrooms unless you know exactly what you're doing. But yeah, with the shaggy ink cap you have to eat them as soon as you pick them because they actually start to melt and just produce this inky residue that's actually their spores. It's pretty amazing. So with the stem I'm going to apply a little gradient going the other way, reverse, just to give us that feeling of shadow. Now you can actually just, with gradient overlay selected, you can actually select on the layer and just drag that around. I'm going to angle it slightly and scale it down so it's a little bit of a tighter gradient. That's cool for now. And I'm going to apply an inner shadow, but this time darker and with less size. I'm going to bring the details down, just hitting, if I've got the V tool selected, the selection tool, if I can hit just 2 on the keyboard it takes it down to 20%. 0 brings it back up to 100%. So yeah, 4 for 40. Cool, so that might be it. You might be happy with that. Select all those, Control G, make them into a group. We've got our little mushroom, but say we wanted that mushroom on a billboard. He's gonna look a bit crunchy up close. If we were to convert him, just switch that into a smart object, and we were going to make that he's a meter tall at the moment. Let's make him 3 meters high. Now it's not too bad, you know, Photoshop is amazing these days with scaling. There's this image size, you can see preserve details, really quite amazing. 2 meters high from, you know, and it's not too bad, right? It's not great. At 100% and thereabouts, it's just a little blurry. It's not too bad. So you could say, why do you want Invector? Well, it might be useful to have Invector. So he was going to be a logo. Okay, so yeah, for the example there, when I scaled him, the layer styles got like a bit lost in there. You know, they weren't actually baked in, and so the layer style got reduced to a small edge. I just want to show you an alternate method. I'm going to draw him in vector, new layer, with the pen tool selected. Click a point. And it's only going to make sense when you click another point and drag without letting go. There you go, you've got a curve. Going to go up to draw the cap, clicking a point in the middle, drawing a curve, coming down on the other side, dragging, I'm just going to go straight across. Double click on that to bring up the color dialog and color pick the color from here. It looks nothing like the Pixel one. It's too regular. There's all sorts wrong with it. So A is this direct selection arrow. Now with the pen tool, I can add more points As I just hover over, it turns to a plus, and I can select individuals of those with the white arrow and give it a bit more of a raggedy edge. I can just reshape the cap a little bit. I wasn't quite happy with that. Okay, now I can draw the stem. I'm just going to use that as a stroke itself. Clear the fill, bring the stroke up to 70. A little bit high. There we go, so we've got two shapes. Now the nice thing about the stroke is I can go to the line, I can give it rounded ends, and obviously when these scale, the width of the stroke will be affected, because this is an Illustrator. We have I don't think there's any options to affect that in Photoshop, but it means if we were to make this the size of a billboard, it could still be very crisp. I'm just going to use half ellipses for his eyes. Make those have a visible stroke. Make the fill invisible. I'm going to make the ends of those round. Just going to rearrange my properties panel. Now just for the mouth, same deal with the pen tool. Click. If I hold Alt, I get this little triangular shape come up next to the pen tool icon. And if I click on that, it gets rid of one of the handles, one of the curves. So you can see the final corner doesn't look very nice. That's because the corners need to be set to round. It sorts out that bit. Make the middle black. I just duplicate that, Control J. Make the fill white. Get rid of the stroke on that one. This can be his teeth. Again, just using the white arrow to modify that. And there we are. I'm going to copy the inner shadow from that file, copy layer style. I'm going to go to the cap there and paste the layer style. Somehow got the path, there he goes. The path needs to be below the cap. And the same thing, copy the layer style from the stem on the other one and paste it into the stem here. Get a similar effect. So to sort of replicate the raggediness of a pixel and sort of brush effect, I'm going to go to inner glow. I'm going to set the noise on the inner glow. Just fade that out slightly. And do the same on the stem. Just gives it a bit more of a hand done texture. There we go, two alternate methods to draw a character. We've got the details. So I'm going to use a freeform pen tool. So if you click on it, you get all the different options. There's one called Freeform Pen Tool, which is great for scribbles in a new layer. I'm going to draw them, but again, get rid of the fill. Get those little frilly It's not amazingly smooth, it can go a bit jaggy. There might be some settings that I'm not using here, but yep. I think I've just grouped in all the shapes of the face as well, which isn't great. I guess this is the face. Yep. And these guys are the details. I'm just going to group those together so I can fade them down a bit. There we go, some little happy shaggy ink caps. On the left we've got a pure pixel one, on the right we have a shape object vector based one. I hope that's helpful.